What's up guys, thanks for tuning in. And today we're gonna take a look at the Adams air cleaner and see if it's truly worth buying compared to your traditional leaf blower. We'll do a practical test and see how both of them do drying while I wash the C8. And we're gonna throw a little bit of science in there and take some measurements of noise levels and air readings with a couple of little tools right here. So with that being said, let's get started. So first we're gonna take a look at what you get when you buy one of these air cannons from Adams. And I happened to purchase mine on Amazon Prime Day a few months ago. And I promised myself I would not open this until I did an actual video on it. So it's been sitting in my garage kind of taunting me because I've been wanting to use this while cleaning my car, but yeah, I haven't gotten around to it until now. So we're gonna actually open it now and take a look at it. So in opening up the box, we have the things you would have kind of expected here. We have the hose. We have our hose unit, which starts at a shortened length, but when you actually use it, it expands out to the full length, which is I think somewhere around 30 feet. Next, we have a few different nozzle types. So the box comes with two different nozzle types. You have a rounded nozzle as well as a flat nozzle to work with. So we're going to be looking at if there's any kind of major differences between these two when we go and look at washing the car. And then finally we have the unit itself, which is something that I can't do gracefully. They make these unboxing videos look so much easier than I was expecting. I'm going to move the box out of the way and try to get going from there. Okay, so we got the dryer out of the box, and it's actually a pretty interesting size. It's actually a little bit smaller than I was expecting it to be. And yeah, dimensions for this in general, I saw was about 18 inches long by 13 inches high and about 7 inches wide. So not too bad, it's actually pretty compact. So right off the bat, one of the cool features I see is that it does have a locking wheel, which is actually pretty useful if you're working on an incline like my house, which is on the top of a hill, and this thing would roll off if I tried to have it on the driveway. So it does come with a control throttle, which is actually pretty useful if you're trying to work on things that are more delicate. In general, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna have this thing maxed out the whole entire time. And for purposes of the test versus the leaf blower, we're gonna use it at the max condition. You have your general on and off switch, which works just like you would expect. And overall weight of just this is about 13 pounds or so. So it's pretty lightweight, it's not too heavy. So moving on to the nozzle, we do have it at the nozzle grip. It is actually patent. It has it that it's memory foam padded, which will actually be pretty convenient when you're holding it, especially since it blows hot air, not just regular air, as you're trying to dry your car. I kind of like this feature in regards to the nozzles, especially where they're not just a simple just shove it on there and it's done. It's an actual lock, it's an actual twist lock function, which is actually pretty cool. And it feels really solid when you're actually putting it on and taking it off, that it's not going to go anywhere. And it's pretty solid on the other end of the hose. When you install it onto the actual dryer itself, it's pretty secure. You're not worried about this thing going anywhere. It twist locks into place. So overall, pretty good designs and such. So I will say, even though it doesn't really matter as much to me, the actual casing on here is plastic actually. It's not metal. This whole entire time I thought it was metal when I looked at all the pictures. And I guess that's a testament in regards to how the quality looks, because I mean, it looks like metal to me, and I wouldn't have known any wiser. But yeah, it's plastic, but I don't think that it affects really any kind of function. And for me, it's not really, I wasn't looking for something that if it's metal, it's good. If it's more of, for me, it's more of if it functions the way it's supposed to, then that's good. And the caster wheels themselves look pretty solid. They look like they would last quite a while in regards to any kind of mobile detailing where you need to have something that has a little bit more juice to try to dry maybe a car or even 2 or 3 or more than that, frankly. So this is pretty good in regards to that. Another thing to add on to it is that the caster wheels are both locking in the front and back. So, and they don't just lock in the rotation of the wheel, they lock in the actual position themselves. So if I were to lock this, the wheel itself is not going to twist or is not going to move around, and it's not going to rotate. So you don't have to worry about this thing trying to twist as you're trying to work around, unless you're literally picking it up. So surprisingly, there wasn't any kind of instruction manual in the box. I don't know if just that was my unit in particular that just didn't have it. I was surprised. Usually most things like these have some kind of instruction manual, and not really a deal breaker for me. It's a dryer. It's pretty straightforward how to use it. But in general, it's kind of nice to have one of those in regards to kind of warranties or anything like that. I don't see any of that. Again, that might have just been an issue with mine. I don't know. But in regards to that, I'm not really too worried about that. So then looking at the back of this, this is where the filter would be, which is this filter right here that goes into the back. This is what I would be assuming. This is the filter that is trying to keep any kind of dust from coming in as it's working. And it's just these two tabs that just hold it together. You put it in, and it's an easy in and out to take out. And so yeah, that's what comes in the box. So the next thing we're gonna do is the exciting parts of, is it actually better than the leaf blower or not? So when it comes to comparing both the Pro Cannon and the leaf blower, we're gonna look at 4 different things and look at the pros and cons of each. We're gonna look at price, noise levels, air power, and overall practicality. So for comparison purposes, we're gonna be looking at comparing the AIRCANNON to the Ryobi 1 jet fan leaf blower. It's something that you would more expect of your typical garage for a leaf blower if you're actually using it for leaf blowing, or if you're actually using it to dry your car. And it's actually been something I've been using to dry my car up to now. So the first one we start with is the price point. Obviously for this, the leaf blower is going to be cheaper and is going to start you around $140 if you're needing the battery on top of that, or even or less than that if you just need the unit itself, compared to the AIRCANNON, which retails for about $344, but it's actually something that you commonly see go on sale for like 30% off, which is almost $100 off, and like around $227, which actually makes it pretty competitive in regards to price. But for this, the leaf blower does take the cake in regards to the price point. So that's the advantage that goes to the leaf blower as compared to the Adams AIRCANNON. So for the noise level test, we used a decibel reader so that we could take measurements of noise levels. And we used it on a whole bunch of different things just to get a baseline of what other typical sounds would read on the decibel reader. So we did things like the microwave, me snapping my fingers. I did a cold start with the C8 and the Borleg tack exhaust. And I just ended up messing around all over the place. I ended up even trying to measure my cat and seeing if I could get away with that. So long story short, in regards to the noise level, the AIRCANNON is actually quieter than the leaf blower. That being said, if you're using the rounded nozzle, and depending on how you use it, because it comes out with so much force, that does create quite a bit more noise. So it's just something to keep in mind. But in general, for the units themselves, the Adams AIRCANNON is quieter. So that might be something that could be potentially useful if you're trying to wash your car in the morning while it's not too hot outside and you're not trying to fully disrupt your neighbors trying to clean your car. That's also a plus. So the next thing we did look at was the air power that you get from that. And we used a little anemometer for that. We put it a certain distance away and measured it the same way for both the leaf blower and the AIRCANNON to try to get the most constant reading that's possible. And we saw with the readings, you almost got, especially with the rounded nozzle, you almost got almost double the amount of air force compared to the leaf blower. Now I know there's other leaf blowers that can produce more power, but at least compared to that, it worked pretty well. The flat nozzle had less power, but it had a wider spread of air. So that's actually kind of useful when you're trying to dry also. So in doing the practicality test, I'll just say up front that it was definitely much easier to use the AIRCANNON as compared to the traditional leaf blower. The leaf blower, when I was using it, it works decent, but it doesn't necessarily do as well in regards to trying to blow the actual water droplets off the car. And my car is ceramic coated, so it should kind of glide off pretty easily. And yet still kind of struggles a little bit with that. So I ended up having to use a drying towel afterwards, like I usually do, to try to get that final finish before all the water starts drying up and you're left with a whole bunch of water spots. When I was using the Adams AIRCANNON, I was using the flat nozzle, which doesn't have as much air force, but you get a wider pattern of air coming out, and that actually helped quite a bit to just get the water droplets off the car much faster. And when you combine that with the heat that was coming off the AIRCANNON, you definitely had it drying much easier and much more efficiently than just using a traditional leaf blower. So it was significantly easier. So in drying time, it took about 7.5 minutes to use the leaf blower to dry the car, as compared to the AIRCANNON, which took less than 3 minutes to get it all dry. So it was a lot easier, and even the wheels were much easier to dry. I actually ended up just trying out the other nozzle with just like on the wheel specifically. That was so much easier. I didn't have to use the towel at all to dry it afterwards, which I've never had that before. So that was really nice to not have to go back in there to dry everything, even after using the leaf blower when I was using that before. So in regards to practicality, the AIRCANNON is so much easier to use. I'm actually really glad I have it now, so I'm not taking as long drying the car and feeling like I'm gonna die. Especially with this hot Texas heat, which is starting not to at least be 100 every single day, and it's more like 93, 94 degrees. The less time I'm taking to clean and wash the car and now dry the car, and less effort, the better for me. So I'm not huffing and puffing by the end of it. So another thing, at least when it comes to the practicality, the heated air part of the Adams AIRCANNON, it does work very well. That being said, the handle itself keeps your hand from getting hot, but the rest of the hose is pretty darn hot. So if you're moving around your car and the hose happens to bump into your leg or whatnot, you're not going to get burned, but you're definitely going to realize that it's there and it's hot. So the hose itself, it does expand to that 30 feet, which actually that looks pretty cool when it does that. It looks like a freaking giant snake that's come alive. Anyways, the hose does fully reach around the whole entire car. So it does make it pretty practical that you can keep that dryer, that AIRCANNON, in one spot and not have to move it, and you can still do everything you need to do with no problem. I would even argue that you could do that with your basic truck and not have to move the dryer all over the place. I will say, like, obviously it takes a little bit longer to get set up compared to an electric leaf blower, because all you need to do with a leaf blower is just put on the battery and you can go. As compared to this, where depending if you have it on a wall rack or whatnot, you have to take it out, plug in the hose, put the nozzle on, plug it in, all those kind of different things. So it takes like 30 extra seconds to put it, but it's something to keep in mind as well. So in reviewing everything we went over, so first thing, the price. Obviously a mid-range leaf blower is going to take the cake with that and is cheaper than the Adams AIRCANNON. On the flip side of that, if you're looking at noise levels, the Adams AIRCANNON takes the cake. The main unit is significantly quieter than the leaf blower. And when it comes to air power, the Adams AIRCANNON also takes the cake. Not only do you get more air power, but it's also heated air, which helps dry the car faster. And then finally, looking at the practicality test we did, the Adams AIRCANNON also blew it out of the water in regards to taking much less time to dry the car and much less effort. There was a lot less drying with a natural towel afterwards compared to the leaf blower. So that's a huge markup for me. So at the end of these things, I think the AIRCANNON is definitely worth the price. I think it's especially worth the price if you can find it on a good sale where you can get maybe like $100 off. I know Amazon had it currently that it's like 30% off from its retail price. So it's something that is definitely worth taking a look at, especially if you're just a car guy like me and you enjoy and take pride in washing your car. Maybe some people just might look at it as a chore. I enjoy washing my car. It's my zen moment. Anything that makes it easier to wash your car is always a plus for me. So yeah, that's the review of the Adams AIRCANNON. So if you like this video, please check out any of my other product review videos like this one here for your C8 or just general car needs.